Okay, good. We'll start with the status. Okay, let's do the meeting notes. I already had some notes from last week and also updated it. Wow, there's a big bug here. I will start it again. No, it's very impolite. Okay, let's see if Sipke joins. In the meantime, status, and we'll talk about the release. There's a vote, if we can do it. If Piotr is the only one missing, we'll do it. Demos, Daniel had a demo, but he's not here right now. Caching improvement, I will show and we talk about it. OpenID discussion, OpenID Connect, so this is Bertrand wants to talk about it, so maybe we'll have time. And we have Gustavo, our expert. And JavaScript is a question, comment I had. So status. So this is an updated thing. Let's see from last week. Fix. What branch? This is a fix which was preventing the default tenant from being updated. So now this is fixed. I don't understand why this line of code was there, but we could not edit the tenant, the default tenant, like changing the domain or the prefix, things like that. So I think it was the issue. Update TextFieldDriver because you couldn't, because if you were trying to save a text field which had a default value, by entering a new value, it will reset to the default value. So this is very bad. So it's fixed. This also from Jean-Thierry, updating the, again, default value, another bug with the default value. I don't recall which one it was in this case. Seem to, maybe it's the same fix but in 2 commits. It didn't squash. It's bad. Merge pull request, that's it, that's the same pull request but 2 commits. Remove the false reinitialization of version page load. What is that? This is from Benedek, I assume, fixing the media manager, which will not refresh the, well, which will not display the recent page on page load. Okay. So the goal from last week changes was just to focus on releasing 110 and 193. So fixing all the blocking bugs. Mainly this one, Unwrap TargetInvocation. So this one, interesting. This one is that in a layout, at least in a layout, I haven't checked in somewhere from layout, but if you have a ShapeAttributeBinding, meaning a shape using a method, and it throws an exception, it makes your app, it puts your app down. So it just restarts the process. And I can't explain why, but I found that the issue is coming from when evaluating the method. If the method that it's evaluating is throwing an exception, because we are doing invoke on reflection, we'll get a target invocation exception. And that, if this is what is triggered, it will take the application down, but only on Azure websites. Not locally, not on IIS, just on Azure, we have this issue. So what I'm doing is just intercepting this thing and throwing what is the actual exception, and then it works also on Azure. Otherwise, it will break Azure. I've talked to some people here. I still need to talk to the Azure team. I talked to the guy, but I could not meet him yet. So it's possible that there is a bug in Azure websites that looks for this specific exception, and there is a case that it's not managing and throws everything. So right now I have that, and I still have to report it to the correct people in Azure.
Azure App Services runs a bit different version of .NET. I also found that out the hard way. So there are multiple differences. I don't think they officially disclose what are the exact differences here.
Yeah, from someone, this someone thinks that it's possible that it's a specific module in the HTTP, in the IIS pipeline that they have that does that. Because even if it was a specific CLR, it should not stop the W3 pitch. It's only possible if a module itself throws, they say. So I will see. I will report that. So, but I fixed it this way. Then retrying and tenant. So these things I assume are just on dev or 19x, not on 193 or. Let me check. This one is 19x, right? And this one too. This one is the retry pull request. The ID being on startup. Retry multiple times to start the tenant if there is an issue. Based on feedback, I added some delay. Very clever delay. Just first time is 1 second, and then 2 seconds, 4 seconds, 8 seconds, but you will never get there. I don't assume you will start more than 3 or 4 times to restart the tenant. And there are 2 options: the number of retries you want, and if you want to enable or not the delays between retries. Okay, they know about it. They will join soon now.
What are the cases this fixes?
So during the startup of the tenants, if you have an issue like database access, and there is an exception at this time, the tenant won't be started.
Yeah.
So you need a restart. You might want to retry because it might be a temporary issue and you want to retry your tenant to be restarted. On a multi-tenant system, if you have 100 tenants on the same machine and one doesn't restart and you don't know, then you need to know that the tenant didn't start to restart it specifically. Or at least you might want to retry. Optionally. You were not here last week? You were there.
Last week I was.
Oh, maybe we just talked about it during the triage. We triaged it.
All right.
So we have the explicit issue on the web logs because we have 150 per web app, 150 tenants, and sometimes 1 or 2 tenants don't start up because the database has too many access and refuses the connection or whatever reason. An issue during startup, and then it's a ghost tenant. It's there, it's enabled, but you don't see that it's not answering requests. Just a user complaining that his blog doesn't answer requests, and we had to start it again. So these are actually 2 changes: the retry, the optional retry, because if you don't want to retry, you don't have to set the value, and the fact that we throw a fatal exception that can be logged specifically, like emailed, whatever. You see? So even if you don't retry, you will have the fatal exception, the fatal log. So you know the tenant is not started.
By the way, you also miss a space here after if.
Yes, I don't know. It happens on, yeah, I need to change Visual Studio settings. I must have messed up with that. It can't be rebracer, right? Because I use rebracer. Rebracer should have that, no?
I don't think it has anything to do with rebracer, since this is not something rebracer handles. It only handles the curly braces.
Only the curly braces?
Yeah, I think.
You think? $21 kilobytes of curly braces? That's a lot for curly braces. Look at that. Just braces. Space between empty squares. Look at that. Space between dots. You see? That must be it. I have to check the property. Maybe the property is wrong for the ifs in this case. Space within expression parentheses. It's not just curly braces. Definitely. Space after if. Space after. There is no. Well, I will check that. Okay, but yeah, maybe that's why I keep messing it up. I need to fix this file. Okay, so that has been pushed in 19x. Output cache route config fixes from Carl. Yeah, the idea was that, I think, if I remember correctly, but Gustavo will correct me if I'm wrong, the idea being that if a route is not cached using this cache route config, then we don't need to check the cache. We can just render it. I think this was the case before. Even if it was said as not cached, it will still check the cache.
Yes, that's the point with this one.
Welcome.
Hey, thank you.
Not too early for you?
No. The usual time zone confusion.
This one is the merge multi-tenancy feature, which is the unit test after the change that we made to ensure that we at least have a domain or a prefix in the new tenant. So it fixes the unit test itself. This one is a null ref from Jean-Thierry. This one is fixing missing CSS or wrong CSS, and it must be on 19x, I assume also. Yep, correct. This is a branch, I think. This is a branch. We'll talk later. Add on the existing items to the field. 110 and 193. Yeah, there was a bug that Benedek could repro, I think. Yeah, he could repro that. That will duplicate the same content, the same taxonomy item to different fields on the same content item. So now this is fixed. Apparently, it was a discrepancy between all the code that we are using in this driver and this line. If you look at the comment here, it shows that it's kind of wrong. Get all the selected published terms of all the taxonomy fields of the content item. Why would you do that on all the taxonomy fields? No, it's just for the current field. So that's fixed. Merging, building after merge. So yeah, Zoltan fixed the merge. Oh no, this is a different branch that you have, Zoltan. And because we are on this one, just so that everyone agrees with the disagreement, this is a kind of a private branch on the main repository to fix an issue, and I suggested Zoltan that he could squash it before merging it, because he has, I think you have like 5 or 6 commits on that. Zoltan says, no, we can't, it's a public branch. I say, right, but it's your public branch. Kill it, break it, rewrite history, squash it. What people think.
Yeah, so the reason I'm disagreeing here is that this would mean rewriting history. So for everyone who already pulled, this would be a change, something they would just see as a glimpse, and if they happen to have this branch checked out already and do a push, they would still repush it.
I'm fine with that. It's a branch to fix a bug. Does anyone in the meeting here care about this branch that was open last year? Even if someone has checked out this branch, I'm sure they haven't fixed anything on that. Or that's fine. I will shake their hand and give them a present, whatever. Benedek, don't do it now, okay? Just for supporting Zoltan. So and to be honest, even in the MVC team, that's what they do. Everyone works on the main public repository, creating their own branch for issues, and we squash them and we merge them when we are done with that. And it's on the public repository so that anyone can participate, but we know who is participating, so that's fine. It's not like the dev or the master branch, it's a bug branch. It can be rewritten. And you will delete it after also, by the way. So
why don't we do this with every branch?
Oh, every branch, I mean, not dev, not master.
Every temporary branch?
Temporary branches, fine, yes, that's what we should do. I do that. It's just that my branches, I prefix them with Cerberus, but I do that all the time. I rebase them, I squash them, and if someone works on that, then I'm more careful. But I know what that they're working on, that I'm collaborating with them. And then we agree, okay, we are done with the feature, we can squash them. and merge it to dev or to master. So yeah, while you work, you don't have to squash it, but before rebasing and merging, then yes, you squash it when it's done, when the work is done. And we kill the branch. No more issue 2740 branch. So I think that's what we should do. I didn't read the chat. Nobody else is talking. Nobody cares about that actually. But yeah, that's what we do in MVC. So I allow you to squash your branch before you rebase it and merge it.
Thank you.
That's better.
I might consider it.
And that's good to be able, like you or all the committers on the main repo, to be able to open branches on the public repository, because it's easier to work on these public features like this if we need to. I personally use it because I have the right access, but yeah, good to use that, I think. This is a different branch. This is merge pull request. This is not, yeah. Oh yeah, so this was something that, yeah, we talked about it during, well, you reviewed it, I think, Zoltan, Daniel also. So this is a new feature that was merged in 1.9x. A new feature meaning it's also doing something more seriously than it was before. So the idea is to support ETags. So just to explain how ETags work, the idea is when the server serves some content, it can add the ETag header in the response to identify the version of the content, so that when the client asks for the same page that it got from the server, it also say only if the content is not the same as the one I already have. And to say that, it sends the ETag value that it got during the request. So the server will just get the request with the if non-match and the ETag value. And what the server does is check if the content has changed with this ETag value. So in the case of the output cache filter, we just look up for the cached item, and the cached item contains the ETag that was used when it was generated. So if the ETags match and the cache key match, then we can answer to the client a specific HTTP status code, which is 304, not modified. And this way we don't have to send the content of the cache item. We can tell the client, no, this is the same thing, you can display exactly the same thing. The goal being that we save the transfer from the server to the client of the content. Okay? It was reviewed and approved, so it was merged. At the same time I did this change, Zoltan noticed it. This is that when we update a cached item, we don't call remove and set to the provider, we just call set, because the contract states that when you call set, it also has to remove an existing key. It's just a small optimization. This way, for instance, when you do Redis, you won't send to request a remove and a set. You just send a set, because you know that your provider supports updating an entry. If your provider needs to remove an entry, then it's up to your provider to first remove it and then add it when you do a set. Okay. So this is a merge. This is another branch. Exclude NuGet packages from artifacts. Yes, so we discovered what was taking, last week we talked about it, what was taking all the space in the packages of the release. It's the packages, well, so, yeah, it's actually a packages folder, all the NuGet packages, which were copied also with the source and the release. So we fixed it. At the same time, I also excluded the PDBs from the web zip file. I don't know how they appeared. I couldn't find the reason, because even the project say that they don't render the PDBs on release, and they were not there in the previous versions. So I explicitly excluded them because they were not there in the previous versions. It was also a lot of disk space in the zip file. Taxonomy fixing that the term admin index page should sort terms. This is the one that you found, Gustavo. You reported. So Benedek fixed them. The taxonomy terms were not organized correctly in the taxonomy. Now it's fixed. Then Benedek merged 1.3 to 1.10. Then this is a merge from the bug from Jeff. This is 19x typo, merging the branch. This is nothing, local work, and then yesterday Benedek found some issues with the translations that he fixed and merged again 193 into 110, and done. So we should all thank Benedek for all the time he spent the past week fixing all the remaining bugs, because he spent a lot of time finding all the issues and fixing them. Thank you, Benedek. And I pushed again this morning the updated packages for the maybe 200th time. So if you go on the READS page, you get the web and the source, which are up to date, which are good to go, in my opinion. Right before we find a new big issue, okay? Because every time we find a new one, but less and less. Benedek found some issues this morning, but they were there since the version 1, so we don't care. We'll fix them in 19x or in 110x. And so if nothing crazy appears until tomorrow, I will push tomorrow, if everyone is fine with that. And which leads me to this issue, which is the release plan in terms of oh, I didn't see that. I didn't talk about deletes. Yes, correct. Let me check your comment before explaining, because I maybe want to change my explanation based on your comment. I was about the pointer to have. Okay, so let's go one line by line. The plan for the branches. We merge 193 into 110. Meaning that all the fixes we applied only 193, we ensure they are also applied in 110. And it has been done, okay? Benedek did that.
You mean this should happen before the release?
At the same time. After the release. We release and then we do that.
So shouldn't the 110 release actually contain the 109.3 bug fixes?
This should happen before, and it has happened continuously.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Okay.
Okay, because I think you just say something else, and something else is in the issue as well.
So we release. Okay. The release is this plan. Okay. The release is 2 lines. The release needs that. This is part of the release. But we agree. That's fine. Sorry about the words I used. So 193 is merged into 1.10. All the bugs from 193 are in 1.10. Okay. We ship 193 and we ship 1.10, right? So we agree. Then we can merge, or at the same time, in a transaction. Okay, it's a transaction here. 1.10 is merged into master, because now 1.10 is the new default. Okay, for everyone wanted to deploy Orchard. Then we merge master into dev. Okay, the goal being to get everything we got from 193 and from 1.10 into dev. Dev being the next major version. Okay. 110x is a new branch which is created out of master for the short patches out of 1.10, which will be 110, 1, 2, 3, and so on. Then we extract, 19x, which still exists and contains short cycle bugs, is merged into 110x. This way, everything we have done in 19x, which is not in 193, will also be in the next 110x. Make sense? Then, as Daniel is mentioning, we will delete 19x. Okay, 193 will also be deleted, 110 will also be deleted, but we'll create tags for 193 and 110. Okay, I will add this notes. So 19x is then deleted. One nine three 110 are deleted. 1.9.3 I will change the order, and 1.10 tags are created. Update 2 times because edge. Note that 193 is already merged in 1.10 as of today. Okay, to answer Zoltan comment. Then closed bugs assigned to dev. Everything which has been closed and is still assigned to dev is reassigned to 1.10. Because if it's closed for dev, it means it has been actually for 1.10. Maybe something that we fixed before we had the 1.10 branch and milestone. Closed bugs assigned to 19x will be reassigned to 193. Okay, and open bugs assigned to 19x will be reassigned to 110x. Meaning, if there is a bug which should have been fixed in 19x, we agreed. We now say, okay, now let's fix it for 110x. That's what we did last time, and it worked well. That's the plan. Good. Feel free to comment now or later. I think it's important to understand how merging will work and what will be deleted. It's not simple. Done. This vote. Should we accept commit attributions to group accounts instead of individuals only? So who is allowed to vote? Only the committee, and we have today Bertrand. We have myself, there is the dictator, there is Zoltan, there is Benedek, and I think Piotr is missing, right? Piotr is missing, but Piotr is not here. Do I miss anyone from the committee? 6, I think, right? Okay, so should we accept? So the answer, we have to be explicit about the answer. Should we accept commit attributions to group? Should we accept commit attributions to group account? Meaning, if you vote yes, you are in favor of accepting attributions to group account. If you vote no, you want to decline the right. I vote yes. For once, I will be. Zoltan, you vote?
Yes, but could we specify the question, because there are actually 2 users corresponding to a commit here, and I'm not sure we all understand that there are these 2 users, and there can be a permutation of any 2 users here. So I'm talking about the committer and the author.
More explicitly, what's the case today is that the author being an entity, okay, and committer can still be a person. That's the case today, right?
That's right.
And that's what you want to keep, and that's what we are voting for. Do we accept this situation? Well, what we are voting for is do we accept an author to be there? The fact that there is a committer which is different is optional. Or do we force that? So that's a different vote. So do we want author to be an entity only, or do we require that the committer has to be a person, or do we just allow persons as authors. Okay, it's kind of a different thing.
Yeah, so Bertrand is also confused. Let me add 2 examples here.
So I think actually we should vote this one first, and based on the result of this one, we can just vote on the second one.
Well, these 2 things, authors and committers, where do they show up respectively? If you look at GitHub, for example.
Let me show you, because yeah, we explicitly talked about this thing last week because this was the issue. Let's take Lombic. You see here Lombic. The author of the commit is Lombic, but the account which was used to push the commit was Benedek. You can see it also there in the commit history, like this, author, committer. For instance, also sometime what I did at some point, in Codeplex mostly, because we didn't have the merge from GitHub, I would pick up a patch from someone, squash it, and commit it under my name, but as the author of the user who created that, so that his stats and his contribution will be under his name. I just use my write access to commit the thing. Okay. Yeah. So Sipke said we need to vote because he thinks it's abusing the system to do that, I think. Well, Sipke, you are here. I won't talk to you.
Yeah, so it's not that I'm afraid it's being abused. I just prefer the idea of being able to see which person created the work. I think that fits better with the project, but that's just my personal taste and opinion. But I'm not concerned with abuse. Don't get me wrong there.
Yeah, actually, the abuse was the initial. My initial fear was that we could commit for someone who doesn't have write access, just to go through some restrictions that we set by defining the write access.
Yeah, so it seems like we're abusing that.
Why do you think, Bertrand?
That's why we are voting.
I think this is confusing. It's confusing roles here. I understand that somebody can commit something on behalf of someone else. The question seems to be who is responsible for the contents of the commit. I think unless there is a reason for those 2 people to be different, they should be the same. And who between the author and the committer is responsible? Let's say, for example, let's have a hypothetical situation where somebody introduces a security flow into the system.
A very simple question: who signs the CLA when you commit?
Yeah, that too.
So I will postpone the vote just for people, because I think we didn't have time to think about these questions. First, who signs the CLA? Because the author, who is responsible for the commit, right, Bertrand? The author or the committer? Who signs the CLA? The author or the committer?
Just the fact that we're asking those questions proves that it's confusing. And the only way to make that not confusing is by having those people be the same in most cases.
I'm not sure of that, because if we say the committer is I could say the committer is the one who commits the code, and because I can impersonate for any committer or any author.
That's true. The committer.
So the committer doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter who the committer is.
The committer has the right access to the repository, so this is the actual ACL of the repository.
Yeah, for example, when you merge in a pull request.
I don't think that's true. I think you can push something to the repo that was committed by somebody else.
Zoltan, tell us which one is the one you can redefine.
The committer is always a user. So in our case, when I commit as Lombic, actually the author is the Benedek Farkas username. So there's really no confusion there, because the committer is actually someone who has write access to the repository.
You see?
And I think there are certain cases So the fact that Bertrand mentioned that it's confusing, to some extent I agree, but there are clear cases where, for example, when you accept a pull request, then of course the committer will be someone who is a core contributor, because that means that he or she is able to accept the PR and merge it in, and then of course he or she should be responsible for this. For accepting this PR, because it's a responsibility to to the code review and the functional review.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So I would personally be okay with it, and with explicitly stating somewhere that the committer is responsible for committing and the author is responsible for the code that's in there.
So, but what I wrote here, the committer is the account which has write access to the repository.
Well, are you sure this is the case? Because this doesn't reflect what I thought.
I'm almost sure. I think it's right. Look at that. Look at that. Let me show you something. When you commit and you amend, you can rewrite the author manually.
Yes. Okay. I know that. But what I'm wondering is, I mean, the access to the repo in GitHub is the one who has the right to push something there.
Yes.
But you can push whatever commits that you have in your local clone, and those can be committed by somebody else than the one who's doing the pushing. So the right in the Orchard repo is only for pushing things there. Committing, anyone can do basically.
That's true.
Yes, this is the case.
Ooh.
Yes.
But in this context, committer and the one who pushes is the same. So technically speaking, you're right, of course, but
yeah.
But only the person who has the right access can push.
Yeah, so I understand what you say, Daniel, but what Sipke is saying is, even though we could abuse the system, we are talking about how do we allow to abuse the system.
I'm just saying these two fields, committer and author, they really have nothing to do with the concern of write access to the repo.
Okay. So I will remove that.
The question of who signs the CLA, that's I think is answered, because in our scenarios, a user can create a pull request, but whenever a PR is submitted, that author or that user is asked to sign the CLA, and the core contributors are also asked to sign the CLA. So both the author and the committer should sign the CLA, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Because we assume that we go through a PR, and unlike what Daniel is mentioning, that I could write anything committed by anyone and push it and go through. Yeah, it's just because I pushed, it's my CLA which is used.
I think,
so we mentioned the CLA, we mentioned responsibility, which are pretty much the same thing. Another thing that I think is important is that there is always one individual that is associated with a commit, and I think that is satisfied by what I've seen in the Lombic commit, so I'm happy with that.
You also mentioned something else, Bertrand, that is the most interesting question to me, is that what is the reason why we would want these two to ever be different? The purpose?
I gave one technical reason before, which is people can't push, can't create PR, whatever. They give the code and I assign the ownership to them, even though I commit their code.
Okay, but as I explained, you can solve that in another way. If you create a fork, for example, anyone that you allow access to that fork can commit things, and then you can be the one to push it.
I mentioned if I want to push something from someone and they don't want to do anything, to have to work, they just send me the code by email, I can do that and still give them credit for that.
And in that case, you actually have 4 people involved, potentially. You have the commit itself, and then you have the merge commit. And you can have different names on all of those.
So I don't think it's to enable some kind of technical workflow that's not possible otherwise. So the reason is
we could use it for technical we could use it for technical reason, but here the question is not about it.
My question is more, why do you want to do this?
I think if Lombic in this situation, let's just take Lombic. If the Lombic user is responsible for some kind of quality gates that they have internally, if it acts as a gatekeeper for quality, for example, I can see that as a good reason to do it.
Yeah, that's a good point. But in that case, both users would be a person and not an entity.
Different roles.
That's right. So if, for example, if you would break Orchard in a way that's, I don't know, very bad, and you would want to sue somebody who did that breakage, then you would sue Lombic, not Benedek.
That's different, because even if you wanted to sue Benedek, you would say it was part of my work, so... Like today,
it's in the contract you have with your employees. I think that's a different concern altogether.
This is what we do at Microsoft. I push an MVC under my name or an Orchard under my name, but if you sue, you don't sue me. You sue Microsoft, even for my work on Orchard. Yeah, I'm very. So I don't see any big issue here by letting them do that. That's what I see. Letting them or anyone do that. Tomorrow, if iDeliverable wants to do that, I will be fine too.
So the answer that I'm half expecting when I ask that question is because we want to market our company.
That's fine. We talked about it last week, yeah?
Okay.
Sure, why not?
And it was mentioned, yeah.
Yeah, it's about attribution.
Okay.
The same way we don't do it anonymously, it's nice to see, yeah, I have 10,000 million commits, and you just have one, Daniel.
Yeah, sure. I'm not saying there's anything. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I just, if there's going to be a vote, it would be good that we understand why we would do it.
And I think it's as a contributor, I think it's a kind of independent contributor because I don't care if Microsoft makes money or not on that. It won't change my salary, but you care when you sell your services that you show your activity on the project, and as Lombic, as iDeliverable, as whatever. It's important for you to be able to prove that you have an impact on the project. So I'm fine with that. If it can help you make a living out of the Orchard, it's also good for Orchard that you make a living out of it while not abusing it. So.
And the concern that Pitke has that you should always be able to trace commits to a person, that still upholds.
Yes.
So
in summary, everybody involved must have a CLA, committer and author, and every commit should have at least one human being.
Yes, and that's the case. Actually, I noticed when we dug through the commits that for my commits, it wasn't recorded that I was the committer because I configured the user in a pit config file. And that's different than using the author field, but from now on I'm using the same, just as before.
What was the result of that, Zoltan?
You mean the result of what exactly now?
The result of that misconfiguration in the repo.
Yeah, that resulted in the author and the committer being the same.
Both of which being Lombic.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay, good. The new statement, so we'll need to write it somewhere in the contribution or some status or whatever. Every entity involved, author and committer, every entity involved in a contribution should have a CLA and any commit should have at least one entity be a person. Gustavo will fix my grammar, and Zoltan won't be able to add a dot at the end because it's there. And I agree with that statement. Bertrand, you wrote it.
Yeah, vote for.
Yeah, no. This is good.
Oh, you are for that?
Yeah, because initially when I asked for this vote, I didn't realize that there's that Lombik was doing it this way already. So it's already always traceable to, a person.
Okay, good. No, it's serious matter. Benedek?
Do you wanna clarify and say at least one entity be a person and not a corporate account or
Here I say any entity, okay? And I
no,
say
he's right because there are countries where corporations are people.
sorry. So can you tell me what you meant? Sorry, then I should listen to what you say.
Just add a clarifier at the end. At least one entity be a person and not a corporation or
Okay.
organization.
Be a human being that takes care of it.
Human
Nobody
being.
has claimed that corporations are human beings yet.
Right, yeah. I think by definition, a committer is a human being, right? It takes a person to literally type in git commit, git push. So.
But corporations also have feelings, but.
Okay, Benedek, you vote?
Then that means that I can hurt its feelings? Good.
I vote yes.
Thank you. I was about to chat with you because I could not talk. Okay, 5 against 5 and Piotr doesn't express his vote. So agreed. We agree on this statement. So you feel free to continue what you're doing. Good. We didn't make that much progress in the end. Daniel, does your demo fit in 5 minutes? Or do you want more
No,
time?
I'll do it next week. It's fine.
Good. I also talk about this next week because it needs more time too. This week, next week, and this one fits in 5 minutes, and I won't answer. In Orchard 2, I implemented shape cache, and I made it on the menu by default, so the menus are cached. For instance, in the admin, so we don't recompute them at every request. One issue, though, is that because they are cached, the active class doesn't make sense anymore on each selected node. Like if I'm the home page, the home menu item could be active or current, whatever. But if you cache the menu, then you can't do that anymore. 2 options: either the cache is per page. It's kind of sad to have to cache the menu per page because the goal is that to say the menu is cacheable because it's the same on all the pages sometimes, or to support the active class if you need on your theme using JavaScript. Or third option, don't cache the menu. Fourth option, nobody cares.
No, I care. Can you repeat that again? Sorry.
If you cache the menus, then you can't leverage the active class or the active state of menu item, meaning this menu item is the one currently displayed, so I can theme it differently.
Why wouldn't you cache that? Are we talking about output caching?
Yes, output caching or shape caching. So if we want to cache that, it means we need to cache it differently per page.
Yeah, for output caching, this is already the case because when you cache a page, you already cache the selected menu item.
But if you want to cache shapes, so do you mean here if menus should be, if they are cached, should have different value for each page? That's how they should behave.
I think this is already the case.
I'm talking about Orchard 2 shape caching.
The shape caching that you described a while back, I remember it was sort of hierarchical in nature.
It supports that totally.
So in this case, if it would really only be 2 menu items that would be non-cacheable. The rest of the whole menu would still be cached.
Oh, I didn't think about. Well, yeah, actually, no, because the main entry inherits from all its children. Yep, if it's cached. No, you're right. Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, there is an ID here.
But it means every menu item's shape is cached and not the menu shape is cached. It's a menu item shape which is cached.
Well, yeah, and one of the problems here is that it is actually expensive to reconstruct the full menu even from cached menu items. So you still have a problem here. But is there something to the idea of having the cache under a form that enables replacement of parts of it for cheap? See what I mean? Where you have some information, some positional information in the cached HTML to kind of replace.
So it's like a third event. We have two events today, which is process the data, render the thing. We could have a third event, which is before render, check that because I can still invalidate myself.
You know, some kind of adaptative donut caching thingy. I don't know. But how are other CMS doing it? I mean, I can't believe that.
Yeah, I was wondering too. Not sure. I wanted to ask Jeff because I know he's done a module to cache his menu, and I'm wondering. So the easy solution is cache it per page, like we do for output caching. Just cache the shape per page, and then we have one state per page, and that's fine. We can do that. It's just sad, but that's the solution, I think.
Yeah, the JavaScript thingy, it would work for most like end user scenarios, but I don't think it's very SEO or screen reader friendly or stuff like that. Those scenarios would suffer.
Who cares? SEO. How the SEO is impacted by the. Yeah, someone is talking, but so far away that like. Yeah, I was saying, how is SEO impacted by the active or not active class in the menu item?
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Okay.
It's not.
So it's not about then as you said, the other thing you mentioned was like on the screen. I don't know what, but
screen readers. Yeah, but there are ways to deal with that too with ARIA attributes.
Yes, and we said no, we need JavaScript. We require JavaScript, and it's a theming thing.
I'm not talking about not having JavaScript.
Right,
I'm talking about when you're using like a screen reader tool, when it can be very confusing for those tools when things update after the page load. But there are ways to deal with it. So what you're suggesting
is it doesn't have to be client side. We could do the replacement on the server side.
Yep. Actually, a good idea. Hey, that's a good idea.
That's what I was describing earlier, where you do store the rendered HTML, but you also store some positional information about the different pieces.
Or even better, like
you remember where you need to replace stuff.
Like a token somewhere in the output.
Yeah.
No. You have a fourth event on the.
Listen, stop interrupting Sebastian.
Yes.
He has an idea.
Yes.
Stop.
Like we did, Bertrand, 5 years ago, alter the HTML server side even at the DOM level. If you want, you can alter the HTML at the DOM level.
Yeah, but that's horrible because
that's beautiful.
You need to have a DOM.
It's output caching. Okay, you have a content. Do whatever you want with
shape.
That. Position, tokens, update the class inside using DOM. You have a shape.
But if you're using caching, you don't have shapes.
Okay, you don't have shapes. So you have content. You have a binary. Do whatever you want with that.
Yeah.
We know it's HTML, so we could provide some helpers for that. But
so you cache HTML and you cache a structure that describes where stuff is.
We could.
Still less expensive than caching per page.
Yep, we could do that. Interesting. I will write it down. Cache a structure describing what is cached. Hey, not bad.
Thank you. And if somebody could take a peek at what Drupal is doing.
Yep. It's kind of implied. If we can do that, then yeah, we can also do that. And check. Well, there is only one node on CMS, it's Drupal. Okay, thanks. It was more than 1 minute. Thanks, everyone. No other comments, questions, topics for next week? I will move everything from there to the next week meeting. And thanks everyone.
Guys.
See you on Thursday.
See you Thursday.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Later.
Bye, everyone.